The Modern Warfare 2 beta is already out, so the season is going to be starting a lot faster than many people think. So we're going to be doing a Modern Warfare 2 tier list / power rankings for all the teams, even the rumored rosters heading into the season. All right, so starting with the D tier. Look, I hate to do it, but it's got to be not Paris anymore, the Las Vegas Legion. Now, their team isn't official by any means, but they're the scraps of the league, in my opinion. And it's not necessarily a shot at the players on the team. It's just the Legion don't pay. They're not actually, it doesn't seem like they're actually trying to build a good roster. Like, Temp has been a very solid player for a long time now. And I will say this, will their team be better than it was last year? Probably, but that's a very low bar to surpass, okay? The rumored roster is Temp, TJ Haley, Clay, and Proloot. I just don't see this team meshing well at all. You know, Temp and TJ have played together, yada, yada, yada. I know how Clay is as a player. Obviously, he's getting another opportunity to compete. Probably not with his favorite team. You know, I'm sure he wishes he could have gotten a way better offer, but, you know, so be it. I just know how this team is. If this team doesn't come out of nowhere and absolutely fry in the beginning of the game, this team crumbles within one event max. And then moving on to the C tier, okay, we have a couple teams. The first team that is going to be in that tier is going to be the Toronto Ultra, which consists of Insight and Kleenex from previous year's Toronto Ultra, and they added Scrappy and Standy. Now, you know, the C tier, very average, maybe below average. That's kind of how I'm ranking it. I don't like this team. I think all the players are solid individually. Scrappy had a lot of promise last year in Vanguard. It's tough because Vanguard, to me, it seems so much different than every other Call of Duty that I've ever played. Now, I could be wrong, but Scrappy's a question mark because he was great. He was great in Vanguard, but now we're going in a whole different direction, and he's got to be able to prove it for more than 1 year, for more than like half a year. Then you have someone like Standy, who had a great Cold War year. Vanguard, not so good at all. So that's kind of where I'm at with Scrappy. Is Standy was great, then he was pretty average. You have Insight, he's a slow, methodical, traditional AR player. And you have Kleenex, who, I mean, he's a superstar on their team. If this team meshes, I could see them being a consistent top team. The roster doesn't make sense to me. Following the Toronto Ultra, we're going to have the Boston Breach. Now, this roster has not been confirmed, but I've heard and seen that it's going to be Methods, Awakening, Vivid, and Nero. Once again, just don't like the team. I just don't think that they have the talent that a lot of the other teams do. And you have Methods, okay, main AR. You have Awakening, who is not a sub player. He should be a AR player, in my opinion. That is his best gun, is an AR. Then you have Nero and Vivid. You don't know what you're going to get from those two. Those two are very hot and cold players. They're very boom or bust, okay? Like, they could be great one series, and then next series they're dropping a 0.6. Which, it's like, yeah, the series that they are going off, that's fantastic. And yeah, maybe they are opening up the map for players like Methods and Awakening, but you don't know what you're going to get. The pacing seems way off, in my opinion. You have Vivid, one of the fastest, if not the fastest player in the league. Okay, and then you have Nero, Awakening, and Methods. Like, I don't know. Not feeling it. Next, we have the Los Angeles Guerrillas. This is another weird team, which I don't understand why they went this route. If you guys aren't familiar, LAG is going to be Huke, RCDs, Spart, and Neptune. Now, RCDs was on Atlanta FaZe last year, and yeah, he didn't play his greatest Call of Duty. Obviously, there were issues behind the scenes because Atlanta FaZe, even though they didn't win, they were one of the best teams last year. They've been one of the best teams. They were on the verge of a dynasty, and I'm assuming RCD's got the bag. because there's no way that RCD's stock fell that much to be on this team. Now, you have Hugh, you have Spart, you have Neptune. I'm just not sold on any of these players. Hugh obviously has been around. He's a veteran in the scene. And he's very hot and cold. You know, I wouldn't have said he was horrible in Vanguard, but I would say for the whole duration of the season, he was very average sub player. You have Spart. He won MVP in the major that LAG won. He was obviously using the Volkswagen, however you say that name, whatever that gun was. And then he kind of fell off a little bit. LAG ended up benching him, blah, blah, blah. So don't know how I feel about that. And then as well as Neptune. Neptune is a player that did get a lot better, I think, as the year went on. But there's just too many inconsistencies with these teams. All these teams in the C tier, they're so hit or miss. They're so hit or miss. And I will say, I think this team on paper makes more sense when it comes to like overall pacing and everyone's roles. Everyone has a very clear role on this team, in my opinion. I don't know if they're going to be good. I don't know if they're going to be a good team, but I do get it because they were probably going to try and build around Slasher. LAG was. And then he obviously got the call from Atlanta FaZe, and he's going to take that call 10 out of 10 times. I mean, a million out of a million times he's going to take that. So then they figured that they're just going to throw the bag at RCDs and see what happens. But to me, not confident in them moving forward. And then the last team in the C tier is going to be the Florida Mutineers. Now, this team, I love OAKBOYZ. It's my guy. A Halo guy through and through. Okay, that's the GOAT. That's the FPS GOAT, in my opinion. I don't know what the hell he is thinking with these teams. Like, I don't know if he's just taking his players' words or he's letting them run the show. But the Florida Mutineers roster, which it's not confirmed, I don't believe. But the rumor is, and I hope it's not true, Major Maniac, Vikel, Havoc, and Brack. Now, Havoc, Brack, and Major Maniac have all been professional players before, but I don't get it. Major Maniac and Brack, they're going to be on the slower side of things. Then you have Havoc, who's very fast. He's a very fast player, goes rogue a lot. But he is that hyper aggressive SMG player that every team wants and needs, right? And I don't know much about Vikel, my fault if I'm pronouncing it wrong. But like, this is the best roster that you could have built. I don't know. There was a lot of moves being made in the offseason, and this is the best roster. If this is the official roster, I just think something's fishy or something's not adding up. Maybe they're not trying to throw the bag. Maybe no teams are trying to throw the bag. I know the economy is going in the shot. Like, I don't know. But moving on to the B tier. Okay. Oh my God, I'm choking because I think of that roster. Moving on to the B tier, we're going to have 3 teams. The first team is going to be the Minnesota Rocker. Now, they did make some moves in this offseason. This is confirmed. The team is going to be Attach, Bance, Cammy, and Afro. And I mean, Attach was really the only positive for the Minnesota Rocker last year. So obviously Minnesota was going to do whatever they can to keep him. And then you have Afro and Cammy. I love this duo. I think this duo could be really, really good together. Afro showed, I want to say, a good amount of promise. You know, last year could have been better. He was, kind of up and down, but I love his gameplay. Cammy's great. Cammy is Cammy. I think he is going to have a lot of success individually on this team, especially in this type of game. Okay, because it is basically Modern Warfare. It feels very similar to Modern Warfare. And then you have Bance, who I think Bance is going to be a great IGL for this team. Now, Attach has obviously been around for a long time. I don't think Attach is the IGL type. Attach, very talented player, though. I think this team, they fit him. And Minnesota, this could be a team that could realistically be like a top tier team, in my opinion, if things go right, if they mesh, and they learn the game, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. We're not going to know all of that until the actual game drops and we see all these teams, including them, play. But on paper, I think this team is solid. I think it's constructed pretty well for what they were trying to accomplish, at least in my eyes. So don't hate it, don't love it, but it's serviceable for the time being. And then joining them, we're going to have NYSL. This is another team that has not been confirmed yet, but supposedly it is going to be Kismet, Hydra, Skies, and Priesta. Now, I'll be honest, I actually like this team a good amount. Priesta got a lot of flack last year. He's gotten a lot of flack. And I mean, it's deserved, okay? He hasn't played up to the Priesta that I know, right? The Black Ops 4 Priesta, the World War II Priesta, and not putting all the blame on his teammates. But I know the type of player that Priesta is, okay? He needs to be in a comfortable situation with his teams. Not only does he need to be in a comfortable situation, right? Not only does he have to like his teammates and feel like they're grinding, because he's one of the most dedicated players that I've ever teamed with in my life, but they have to be willing to win the game, okay? And what I mean by that is either he's had players on his past couple teams that were doing it on purpose. No, I shouldn't say on purpose, but they were thinking about just playing for their KD, playing for kills, playing for their individual performance, or subconsciously just not knowing how to win, right? Consistently making bad plays. Priesta is a type of player who's very selfless. He's going to put himself in situations to help his team win the game. And it's going to be bad situations if his teammates aren't doing what they need to be doing. So he'll throw himself into those bad situations to try and salvage whatever's happening. And it could be a bad look for him. I think he just needs to be in a good environment, and this environment is that for him. And I love what they did. Okay, Skies got away from Florida. He can be the main AR, or he should be. If he's not, I don't know why, but I'm assuming he's going to be the main AR on this NYSL team. You're going to have Priest on the flex, which is great because he can run any gun. And then you have Kismet and Hydra on the subs. On paper, this team looks good. We're going to see how they perform when it actually comes down to the game. But I like this team. And then the last team in the B tier is going to be the London Royal Ravens. Now, this team is not been confirmed. I've seen quite a bit of rumors, but the last one I saw, I believe it was going to be Zero, Nasty, Paul X, and Asim. Which, if that's the case, I think this is another solid team. You would obviously have Zero being the main AR. You would have Paul X. I'd probably put Paul X on the flex and then have Nasty and Seam on the SMG role. Now, I don't know. I hope Seam gets on a roster. I don't know how he's not on a roster. I'm assuming that's because he took the offer from London. I don't know for sure. But if he isn't on this team, I don't understand how Asim has been in this situation, because he is one of the most underrated players in the league right now. And that's all I'm going to say for London. I think on paper, if that is their team, that they look very solid. Moving on to the A tier, we're going to have two teams. It's going to be the Seattle Surge, which has the same roster as last year. I mean, look, this is going to be the second year for Pred and Sib. Pred was unbelievable in his first year. Sib was great as well. I think Sib was a little bit more inconsistent than Pred. But both of these players not only won a major last year, they learned a lot. Okay, this was a great growing experience for both of those players, and now they have that experience moving forward. I think they're both in for another fantastic year. You have Accuracy, the IGL. He's been around. He's won in multiple games now. He knows how to build a team and how to make them successful. A lot of people like to hate on him. So be it. So he gets the job done. He gets wins in these games because he helps his team. And I mean, I've said this multiple times. He's one of the best leaders that I've played alongside with in my Call of Duty career when I played. And that says a lot because I've played with a lot of really good IGLs. And then lastly, you have Mac. Mac is he's like the wild card for me, I'll be honest. But once again, this is a Modern Warfare game. That is the game that Mac came up in. Modern Warfare 2019, Mac was unbelievably gross in that game. So I think if he can have a similar year in MW individually, this Seattle Surge team could be deadly, and they could definitely win. They could definitely win a major, if not multiple. And then joining them is going to be Optic. Now, this team, this is where it gets weird, okay? Because people might hate for me putting Optic with Seattle, blah, blah. This is not the roster that they wanted to have, okay? They actually nearly were dropped. Now, obviously, it wasn't a troll, and whatever happened. Whatever, if they thought that they could get someone, maybe it didn't pan out that way. It's never a good thing when that happens. Trust me, it never for either side. And I'm not saying that both sides can't be mature about it, because they can, but there's just going to be some sort of resistance, right? Just imagine if you were dropped, you're like, damn, okay, fuck them guys. Like what? Like why was I the one to get dropped? And then a couple days later, they come back like, hey, actually, we still want to team with you. You know, I don't know what happened behind the scenes because I wasn't there, but you feel some type of way. But not only that, Illy, we don't know what's going on with his hand. I don't think anyone does. I hope it's not serious, but it can affect his gameplay moving forward. And even if it is fully healed, I don't like, these players are going to have the talent. They're going to have the talent. Dashy's always going to be talented. Okay. Scump's always going to be talented. Shotzi's always going to be talented. Illy's always going to be talented. It feels off to me. Like even last year, they won the first event. And then I know Illy's hand and all that stuff happened, but I truly believe even if he wasn't injured, it would have been the same outcome. Because this has happened many times in the past. I know this is a different Optic team, but this has happened many times where it's the beginning of a Call of Duty. Okay. They have some of the most talented, if not the most talented teams on paper. And in the first event, that's basically what it comes down to, because no one really knows how to play. Like everyone's still learning the game. It's very new at that point. And then as the game progresses and teams understand the game, they learn the game, teams that Optic should be beating on paper start to beat them. And then they fall into that, top 4 range, which isn't bad by any means, but it's not the same. So I have them in the A tier. I do think that they could be great. Still, obviously, like it's Optic. At the end of the day, they're still going to be there. They're still going to be in the mix in some capacity. I wouldn't just have them in like the C tier or D tier. Just be like, nah, they're going to be trash. Even though it'd be great because, people would cook me and that'd probably be good for YouTube views. But the last tier, there's going to be the S tier. There's going to be 2 teams. It's going to be the Atlanta FaZe and the Los Angeles Thieves. Look, this should be obvious. Atlanta FaZe is going to be great. Atlanta FaZe has been fantastic for the last, I don't know how many years. Okay. And yes, they dropped. Well, I guess technically it was like a trade. Traded Arcides to LAG for Slasher. Slasher's been great. A lot of people seem to forget, recency bias maybe, how good Slasher is. But I mean, he couldn't have landed on a better team in a better situation than he did. They're going to be unbelievable. They're going to be unbelievable. I would be surprised if they're not a contender all year long. And then my boys, Los Angeles Thieves. I mean, yeah, it's hard not to put them in the S tier. I think, in the beginning of the season, yeah, last year they had a rough go at it. But I think as the game progressed, they not only learned the game, they learned each other. They learned each other and how they like to play and everyone's play styles, gained confidence. Their confidence is obviously through the roof. And I don't know. I love the way they played last year. Not even in Vanguard necessarily. I love their teamwork. Their teamwork just seemed like it was a level above everyone else when it mattered, right? If they can keep that up, if they can keep the confidence, the hunger, now they all got a ring, they're going to be a top tier team. And yeah, you all motherfuckers are going to say I'm biased, but no, I'm not. Like, they're just going to be elite, or they're going to be trash, and people are going to come back to this and absolutely cook me. But that is my tier list, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. I appreciate love as always. I'm going to see y'all when I see y'all.